Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I am very pleased with our guest today, Mr. Chris Paradiso. Chris, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Avi. Thank you for all you've been doing. You're doing a ton for us.
Absolutely.
We're thankful for you and your group.
Well, I appreciate that very much. For those of you that may not be familiar with Chris, I'm going to give him just a minute to give you a little bit of background about himself and about his agency. But I will keep a very short introduction that Chris, through my years of being involved in the independent agency business, has been one of the best marketing agencies. I think he would hands down be considered that by anyone's opinion that really matters when it comes to that. Chris, why don't you give a little bit of brief background before we dive into this conversation about marketing in this era of COVID-19?
Sure. I started in 98 in life insurance, and my mentor, and still my mentor at 74, Bob McCool, and several of his friends who I'm very tight with, also started in life insurance. So we have a little different perspective than the average agent who comes in just in the property and casualty, just because the sales process and the whole sales is drastically different, because people don't necessarily believe that they have to have life insurance. So in 2000, after about 3 years in the life insurance business, I met with a very, very, very brilliant insurance agent, one of the top life insurance guys in the country, Art Andrioli, who's a lifelong friend of the family. And he was adamant to say, people in 2000 want one-stop shop. You got to get your PNC license. And here's a life guy, and his kids were doing the same thing. And probably the best advice I ever got from anybody was being able to serve people in multi different policies and ways. So then quickly fell in love with property and casualty. In 2002 started really 80% of my business was property and casualty, and placing it, had my own location, my own building, but never thought to go get the carriers direct, because they really didn't know the industry. And it wasn't until 2006, June 19th of 2006, before I became a true independent agent, where I owned my own book of business. Never had a non-compete or anything of that sort, just absolutely fell in love with property and casualty. So, and here we are 14, 15 years later. Book of business is about 43 million. And we do have a niche market. Niche market is parcel delivery. Most people know it as either FedEx, Amazon, or DHL. And we love parcel delivery. And we also have two other divisions, which is basically personal lines and retail commercial.
All right. So Chris, I'm going to ask you a question that
Sure.
I've been wanting to know for a long time. When I see your social media, when I see a lot of your forward facing stuff, what's up with all the classic cars? Is that just a personal passion of yours?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not, you don't have a niche of insuring antique and collectible cars, because I see a lot of those.
The real niches, they say niches bring riches, but I don't have hundreds of thousands of clients with classic cars, and you need that. As you know, the premiums are small. Do we have hundreds, if not thousands? We do. I mean, we insure classic cars. There's no question. We insure rat rods. When you get in the classic world, everybody calls it a little something different. Yeah. And usually, you know, if somebody's a Mopar head, they're not a classic car collector, they're a Mopar head. So we have a little niche. I don't want to say it's a monster niche.
Right.
We love classics. It's a passion of mine. I collect classic Americana cars. I don't chase foreign cars. I just love the classic Americana.
All right. Awesome. Well, sorry. Thank you for indulging my own personal curiosity there.
No worries.
Hey, so you talked about coming in from the life insurance side. Describe what your agency's marketing philosophy is, just kind of the overall marketing philosophy in normal times. And then we'll talk about how has that shifted over the last several weeks with the COVID-19 crisis.
Sure. I think, and it's not I think, we're very, very, very pinpointed. We don't believe in throwing poop at the wall and hoping something sticks. Marketing is much more detailed and very isolated in the sense is, what is the message and what are we trying to accomplish with that message? So in regular times, our messaging is we basically take and outlay a monthly map, a calendar, and we usually go out, we try to go out and stay out 60 days. We're not always there. And anybody that wants an example, they can email me. We'll give you an email and I'll show you what I mean by that. But we actually lay out a month and we lay out the content for the month. For example, in April, my sister is mentally handicapped, also quote unquote labeled as intellectually disabled. And this is the month for autism. Now, autism is drastically different, but it's Autism Month. We are hyper-focused on spreading the word and helping people like other agents like Aaron Robinson, who's a good friend of mine out of Texas, who has 2 children that are autistic. And the goal is really awareness. And that's a message because that is a part of our core brand. And in the regular times, we hyper-focus, stay within our brand guide. Once again, anybody that hasn't met me or hasn't gone to my workshop, I'm happy to share my brand guide with you. It's about 36 pages. It's very detailed and it's very pinpointed to what we stand for and how are we going to visually put out to the world of the internet and social and digital and billboards and print, how we're going to be seen in the eyes of our prospects. So that's in regular times. Yeah, we stay focused being a month out. You can't stay focused a month out in today's times. You have to be very different. We have to be very nimble. We have to be focused on things that what we feel is the core things in today's marketing. And I would get into the message of marketing versus messaging in a second, but we're hyper focused on paying respects for first responders.
Okay, yeah.
We feel those are our heroes. Every day, my focus is on soldiers, veterans, people who fight for freedom. Freedom isn't free. I take that to heart. My grandfather's last will he wrote on a napkin before he died of his proudest moments of his life was 6 medals he earned as a medic in World War I, and he did not speak English, but he fought for it. So it's very passionate in our regular message. So we've detoured our message to really not only focus on veterans and more than veterans is the military, is focus on police officers, which we do support, nurses. How about the sanitation people, the people picking up our garbage? Do we not take them for granted? Who's even thought to thank these people? You know, and there's things that we can do to say thank you, and there's things socially we can do to say thank you. So first responders are huge. It's a message. And the second message that we're portraying is the power of positivity. There are no options but to be positive. And if you have a negative mind, it's going to get you nowhere. So I don't want to take excuses. I don't want to listen to excuses. I want to spread a message of the power of positivity. I haven't listened to the news in 2 weeks. There's a reason. I'm not going to let them consume my mind with garbage. I want to stay focused on getting through this and helping people get through this. People are struggling, and they're struggling in a big way.
Yeah.
Other aspects that I feel are hugely important. So many people, and I don't mean that they criticize me because I believe in email marketing, but please do me a favor. If you don't believe me, believe Donald Miller. And Donald Miller wrote a book. It is a must-read book. It's called Building a Brand Story. It will be the best book, and if you don't read, don't worry. It's an Audible book. It is absolutely ridiculous. And why I get into email marketing or email messaging right now, which is different, is really to stay focused on checking in on people. We should be updating people. If we did not educate our commercial clients about the PPP, we're just an insurance agent taking their money. We need to be more at this time. We are, as independent agents and agents as whole, we are the crux of communities all throughout this country. And we can make a difference if we use email. And email, what Donald Miller says is absolutely correct. Email is one of the most sacred things we get from our customers. You know why? It unlocks everything that you love. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. It unlocks everything. And I never thought of it that way until he put that and said, hey, you do not realize how sacred an email is, so treat it sacred. And he also gives a very good message about if somebody opts out, so what? It just means you are giving materials and messages to the wrong audience. It's okay.
Right.
So emails are playing a critical role.
All right. So Chris, a lot there to unpack. So first, let me just ask a question. I mean, you've obviously pivoted in terms of the messaging and who you're showing appreciation to and kind of what that messaging is. What about quantity? Or have you found that your marketing and messaging activities have fairly stayed level during this time? Have you increased the frequency of communication, or have you toned that down? What have you done from a quantity standpoint?
Drastically increased.
Yeah.
Drastically, and I'll say that. I just wrote an article for Rough Notes. I hope it gets published in next month. And it talks specifically about, you know, it's funny. People want to call and they want to save money, so they want to cut coverage. In tough times, you know what happens in tough times? People sue more.
Yeah.
Now is the time they need more insurance. With that being said, the messaging needs to stand and it needs to come forward. You cannot cut your marketing budget or messaging budget, whatever you want to call it, your communication budget. You have to stay focused. And I think there's three keys. The first thing is what we do here. I would hope every agent is doing it. And I know some people might think they can't do it because they have too many customers. Every day I have every single teammate call 5 of our customers to do a wellness check-in. You know why? Because we care. And it's not Paradiso cares. Most insurance agents care about their customers. The stories that we hear on our Zoom, we have Zoom meetings every single morning, 30 minutes with every single team. We separate the teams. And when you hear these stories, you're moved. I had goosebumps this morning listening to one of the stories about how moved they are that we call 20 minutes of conversation, Audie. You know why? Because people are isolated. They want to talk. It's not our human nature. So 5 phone calls per teammate. Absolutely pertinent. I think it's critical. I would repeat that 100 times. Number 2, the emails. The emails have picked up. I wouldn't recommend that you email every other week or every week. In these circumstances, if we have updates, for example, we wanted to email every customer an update of what was taking place per carrier. Every carrier, some give 15% credit, some want to give a check back. Everybody has something different. You can't just blanket that message and send a mass email. Hey, if you have one of these 10, which we have 18 companies and personalized, one of these 18 companies, check what you're going to get back. That's not personal. We need to be personal in these times. So I think the phone call to the email is critical. And then third of all, I highly feel that a social and marketing or social messaging is absolutely key communicating. Now, that is spun a certain way. We at Paradiso have been focused on Facebook since 2009. So we have had a strategy to go get our existing customers. If somebody becomes a customer, we go after them. We want them to friend Paradiso Insurance so we can get a message in front of them, something other than email. So if you haven't done that, then that would be the last thing that I would be doing. But you need to stay focused because now more than ever, we have to show we care. We have to show compassion. We have to show positivity. And what better way to do that socially? And I say Facebook, but there's a million ways. You can do it on Snapchat. You can do it on Instagram. You can do it on Twitter. There's a million ways you can do that.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Donald Miller. I sat through a webinar that he put on a couple of weeks ago. And the two elements that he emphasized right now was being empathetic and being authoritative. You know, you want to express empathy, but you also want to be a source of answers. You want to be authoritative in the information that you're giving out. So it's interesting. I appreciate you mentioning him. Just for clarity's sake, Chris, when you talk about your service staff reaching out proactively and making those 5 client calls a day, is that a continuation of what of just normal operating procedures, or is that something that you implemented during this time specifically?
So we call every single customer every single year to do an account review, and sometimes I get some hate mail. Hey, why do you want to shop everybody out every year? No. Listen to the verbiage. Please don't jump to conclusions. That would be the worst advice anybody could give.
Hate mail.
Hate mail. I said it's called a renewal call so that we can find out. I said, and let me just understand, this is my philosophy. Every agent doesn't have to agree with it. I feel a true partnership between an agency and a carrier means I have to be transparent with the carrier. And part of that transparency is if I don't call Aubie Knight and Aubie Knight gets a pit bull and Aubie Knight just continues to renew, and then Aubie Knight's dog bites somebody 4 years from now, and I got a commission for 4 years, was I transparent and did I do my best job for Aubie? And was I good and fair to the insurance company? I don't feel that I'm a good partner if I don't do that.
Yes.
So we call every single client every year to do an account review when it downloads. It used to be 45 days prior to renewal, but we were able to now put it on download, which makes it a really smooth process. And we've added this on top of that. So yes, we are calling all of our customers. If you have one policy, which has happened, just a classic car policy, you're still going to get a call from us on an account review every single year. I feel that we owe it to our customers. It's a part of our promise. So that hasn't changed. The 5 calls we did not make before. We started making since COVID-19 has.
Yeah, I think that makes all the sense in the world, because I know I've had some agency owners express a little bit of concern about what their service staff should be doing right now, because in some instances, service staff was pretty reactive, right? I mean, their job was primarily responding to emails that came in, responding to phone calls that came in. And now if that volume of phone calls and emails has dropped down, they may find themselves with some idle time, and proactively picking up the phone and reaching out and doing a wellness check-in with clients sounds like an outstanding way to fill some of that void time.
April 19th, 5 years ago, was my conversion of my agency from being basically being reactive to proactive. And what I mean by that is we started 5 years ago on, I believe it's Monday, calling every single client every single year. It is vitally important to our retention. It's vitally important to trust. It's vitally important to communication and earning that trust and being a true partner with our insured. I think we owe it.
Chris, I want to talk a little bit, because you've mentioned a couple of phrases. You've talked about messaging versus marketing.
Yes.
How do you look at all of that in terms of just loyalty, customer loyalty from reaching out to existing clients? Where do you differentiate that with people where you're still in that awareness phase, right? Where you're still trying to make them aware that you're an option for their services. Sure. And then also you've got the, quote, but not sold. Sure. How do you mix all that up from a lead generation standpoint to a loyalty standpoint? So
sure. Absolutely great question. So lead gen is, I would say, is the northern folk. Okay. We're going to get into an analogy here. And what I would say is marketing and messaging, I shouldn't say marketing, messaging is more the southern folk. When I go down south, you guys are the friendliest people in the world. I love it. I love the southern people. I do. They're so friendly. They're kind. Even when they tell me to bless my heart, they still smile and laugh at me. I love it. But being northern, you have to be aggressive. So in a very interesting story, as I was on a group meeting, as I was telling you before, we had to quickly get on this, and I apologize. There's 8 of us that get on the first Tuesday, and we do basically sharing of what's going on in marketing, what's changing marketing, messaging. We just share everything that's going on really in the marketing and what are we doing. And 7 people, once one person went, I let the other 6 go because I was like, whoa. And all seven of them said, hey, this is not the time to sell. This is not the time to sell. And I kept repeating. I said, hey, I went last because the lady who heads it up, who's a wonderful marketing, her husband's a brilliant marketing guy, says, you've been awful quiet. I said, you know why? I'm afraid I'm going to offend all of you.
Because I disagree with everything that's been said.
No, I actually agree with half of what you said, because calling and checking in is not selling, in my personal opinion. Messaging is not selling. Marketing is selling. And I'm going to tell you something. We're picking that damn phone up and we're calling. And when they said, well, geez, why would you do that? I said to one specific agent, Andrew, they need to save money now. I don't want them to lose coverage. I don't want them to shrink coverage. I want them to move to me because I couldn't earn their business in the past. And now we can earn their business, giving them great coverage at a reasonable rate, which hopefully will be less than what they're paying. It's a win-win for them. It's a win-win for the insurance agency. Why would we not be selling? Number two reason, who isn't home today to answer that phone?
Yeah.
Everybody's home.
Everybody
has time. Nobody can tell me they have no free time today. That would be, that's just crazy to think. I'm a workaholic because I love what I do. And trust me, I find myself having time. Everybody has time. So I think, and that's the difference between messaging and marketing. Our marketing is very pinpointed and it's really aggressive. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it isn't. It's aggressive. It's going after people. It's finding Aubie, who touched my website, and we used a very, very, very awesome tool called Hotjar, and we were able to monitor where Aubie was looking on our website and where he was going to go and click, because it actually videos every person that goes to your website. And then what we do is we're going to tag you and make sure we're going to put a little cookie on you. So now you go back to Facebook and just say you, Aubie, happen to check on homeowners insurance. A home insurance ad is now going to pop up. That's being aggressive. That's marketing. Messaging is taking our brand, taking what we do. For example, we really believe in giving back at this time. So yesterday we bought pizzas for the post office, which is right like 10 feet. It's probably 2 feet from my building. They're very close friends. Yes, we have a ton of business in there, but they're just great people. They're serving the public during tough times. We send pizzas up, and it's not a pat on our back. It's a way of giving back. This is messaging. Messaging is a part about Paradiso Insurance. We care. And what do we care about? We care about our community, and our community is made up of wonderful individuals, which are people who are hurting in today's time. Pizzas up at the hospital. What a great way just to send a little message. Hey, we're thinking of you.
Pizzas to the hospital, to the health
yes.
workers.
Yes. Awesome. So we had 9 deaths in 2 weeks here within 2 miles of my office at the nursing home. We fought the governor. Not a big fan of the governor, but they were going to make a COVID nursing home, and anybody that had COVID was going to go in here and was going to shut down. We ended up having national news when this all started. A gentleman who was celebrating his 70th anniversary, who couldn't go in, stood outside. He made, it gives me
sign for his wife. Yeah.
And that went national. CNN had it, MSNBC, Fox News, everybody had it. It was wonderful. That is what my community is made up of, and I'm just fortunate to live in this ridiculously amazing community. So giving those pizzas, and my daughter, I did not tell her. So this week she was crying because there was no more cupcake mix or any cake mix on any shelf of any grocery store we went to. The grocery store is 3, 4, 5 aisles of large. There was nothing, not one single thing.
Gaps in the.
Yeah. So I have some teammates who said, hey, and they're going to meet me this week because my daughter has been adamant. I want to make cupcakes on Monday for the post office, on Tuesday for the police officers, on Wednesday for the hospital, on Thursday. And I just think isn't that what we're supposed to raise? Isn't that what we're supposed to be seen at in the community? Not people that just take insurance money. We're looked at in the wrong manner because and this isn't Chris Paradiso and Paradiso Insurance is the only one. Thousands and thousands of independent agents give back to their communities. But why don't we share that? Tell the story. So when people understand, before they go to Geico, they may say, you know what? We give bikes away in the community, right? That's a part of our messaging. We believe in educating the youth, giving bikes for reading and the kindness revolution inside the school system. Why? Because I believe in investing back into my community. And that's a messaging tool. So I hope I gave a long-winded answer to marketing and messaging. We are doing both right now. We've upped the ante on touch points. So once we call you 5 every day, you will get a postcard thanking you for doing business with Paradiso Insurance. And if there's anything more we can do to please reach out to us. And then the following week after that, so we're going to hit them 3 times in 3 weeks, they're going to get our Paradiso promises in print. So can
you elaborate on what the Paradiso promises are?
So there's 12 promises. There's promises such as we're going to call you to do an annual review every single year. We're going to alert you on any new products that come out that you might need. For example, replacement cost on homeowners has been coming back, which is great. It used to be here 20 years ago and it disappeared. And So cyber liability for commercial or EPLI, we're going to alert you. That's another promise. A
So
promise
these
is
are almost like service standards, service promises.
Yes, yep. They're on a wall on every one of our offices, and they get every client gets a video, gets onboarded. Every client gets print mail of the Paradiso Promise. Every client gets a calendar, and every month has a different promise. So those promises are what Paradiso Insurance is based off of. That's the foundation of who we are. So with that being said, we're going to touch them 3 times: the phone call, the postcard, and the print mail, which is a full letter, which has a picture of our team and it has our 12 promises on there.
So Chris, how has that evolved over time? I mean, did you when you started your agency and like I think you said in 2006 when you owned your own book of business, was this a vision that you had in mind at that point in time? Because
no,
one thing I was going to ask you about was your brand. I mean, you've got such a great brand, and I love. I mean, like people that are watching, you can see Chris's flags in the background, and when I think about Paradiso Insurance, I mean, I think about the flags, and you give away flags within your community, and most of your branding, a lot of your branding is red, white, and blue in theme, and you've got and there's flag themes in it, and you mentioned the story about your grandfather, and that was great. Is that what was that from day one? Did that evolve? How important is it for agencies to have a brand? How did yours develop?
I think it's the most important thing you can do. Nobody can tell me, oh, we're marketing and it's working. If you don't have a brand, what do you have? You're just like everybody else in a room. And just say, I look in the mirror and I say, I'm an insurance agent. And so aren't there hundreds of thousands of others insurance agents, right? I mean, I'm only one of thousands. But why will they pick Chris? Why will they pick Paradiso Insurance? Why would they do business with one of my teammates? Because we do stand for our community. And we're very adamant when you see our branding, we're very specific because I tell people, I went up to Canada and spoke and was working with these agencies. Their communities are 400 to 500 people. And I said, whoa, that's not your community. And they're like, what do you mean? That's my community. I only have 400 to 500. I said, no. Your community is what your brand is. Your community is what you define your community as. And if you look at Paradiso Insurance, our community is not Stafford Springs. Our community is America, first and foremost. So I think your brand is your everything. Too many people say, oh, we give great, when I think of branding, the first thing I think of at John Smith Insurance Agency, we give great service. You do? Okay. You get paid to give great service, don't you? You get a commission? Yeah. It's not a brand. Not a brand. And secondly, I wrote an article in our Last Agent Standing about self-proclaimed. Self-proclaimed is we give great service. The only people that can say that we give great service as independent agents or agents as a whole is our clients, not us. So we cannot proclaim that.
Yeah. So Chris, we've got a couple of questions that have come in from the viewers. One, how are you marketing and messaging to the small business owners that are facing revenue shortages right now, staff layoffs, and the possibility of business closure?
Yeah. So we've been probably messaging them the most. We believe in a multi-touch point. First and foremost, those phone calls are huge because we need to identify what we can change today. If you've laid everybody off, and one thing I would highly recommend, so in our niche market, 99% of our niche market, which is parcel delivery, is pay-as-you-go. What's better than pay-as-you-go? If you lay everybody off, what happens with pay-as-you-go? No work, no bill. It automatically drops. I hope one major tool that we all come together and start to use is pay-as-you-go. Smart Pay is who we use. We love Smart Pay. They've been intricate in helping us through this process. So first message is reaching out to them, check on their well-being, and also doing a review in the sense is, hey, Aubie, what's going on with your business? Have you laid people off? Okay. What can we do? Is there any vehicles that are parked that are, you laid everybody off, there's 2 owners, you got 40 vehicles, and is there anything we can do to reduce those vehicles to just liability where they're parked? We have to be careful in that, but it's critically important to help them through conversation on what we can do to reduce the cost. I think the other thing we have to do is care. There's no magic thing other than caring and checking in on them. I make it a point to do 10 texts to business owners every day. Text them, and then what I do is I try to follow up with those people with a phone call the following week and text 10 new per day, and just to check on people. Hey, how you doing? Because in some cases, doesn't matter how good agents we are not going to see. There are casualties every day with what's going on with COVID when it comes to small businesses. They're all not going to make it, unfortunately. I don't like it, but I think we need to be proactive. The email is probably the most important. Those that did not send out the PPP and updated many.
I was just about to ask that. In your earlier comments, you referenced if you haven't notified your clients about the PPP, then you're just an insurance agent.
Yeah.
So what was your messaging around the PPP, and what role did you play? Did you have a partnership with a bank, or did you just say, look, here's some information. This might be really valuable. You're probably hearing it from other people right now, but contact your bank, contact the SBA. What was your messaging there?
Our message was simple. Here is what the government's offering. We basically went and got the government information. Here is what they're offering. Here is the application. Please, at least take the time to fill this out. If you have any questions or concerns, I've filled out these. I will help you walk through these applications, because there is a lot of business owners that fear. Unfortunately, I don't think people realize how many business owners you may not know that can't read. And you know it for a fact because it's come up more than once during the last 2 weeks. And that's hard for a business owner to say, hey, Chris, can you help me? No problem. And during it, I know two of them. One told me that they said, I'm asking you because I can't read. And he was married. His wife did help him set up the business. He's now divorced. And he says, I would have to reach out to my attorney, and I'm afraid to do that in my accountant right now because it's additional cost. Would you help me? Darn right, I'm here to help you. And that, I think just by opening up, and I think there's two ways of messaging. First, by email. Number two, by phone. Number three, by text. And number four, by push notification. We've used all four of those because, Aubie, if you don't, how many emails do people don't open because they get so many? Our open ratios are still about 45 to 48%. That means over 50% of our audience, of our clients, aren't listening to our message. We got to text those people. We have to call those people. And we need to see if they need help. Push notification through the agency app. One of the easiest things you can do. Everybody should have a mobile app. And to push notify is like a text. It sits right in there and they opened it right up. It's a beautiful way of communicating.
Awesome. So Chris, just I want to go back and revisit a little bit about some of the background that you gave early, because I want to make sure that I heard right. And when you started, essentially, you were placing business through other agencies. You were basically brokering business out. But
Yes.
Then you started your own, and today you're sitting there in the $40 million range from a premium standpoint, correct?
Yes, 43.
43. All right. That's phenomenal. I mean, to think that you started an agency in the 2000s and you're sitting at $43 million in premium, that's fantastic. There are a lot of well-established agencies that don't really have a real sophisticated approach to marketing. And agencies like this. I mean, they essentially rely on word of mouth, or they rely on, the individual actions of their producers. What advice do you have for agencies like that would like to develop a more comprehensive approach to marketing? Like, where should they start? How much money should they look to spend on marketing?
Sure.
Is there do you think there's a best practices number in terms of percentage of agency revenue, that sort of thing? Give us just kind of an overview there.
You're sitting down, right, Aubie?
I am sitting down, yes.
Hopefully the audience is sitting down. I think you have to start at, and I don't think this is nearly enough, but I think you got to start at 10%.
10% of agency revenues?
Yep, I do.
Wow.
I do. You're either going to be an agency that's proactive or reactive. There's no choice. And and people say to me, wow, if you knew what I spend, I'm very fortunate. I own other businesses. I love business, so I've been blessed beyond belief. My father got me investing in stocks when I was 11. So I've been very, very, very fortunate. Our marketing budget is still between 31 and I believe this year we'll probably top off about 34 because we've upped our marketing budget because of this. It won't fall below 30, and it hasn't fallen below 30%. So what that means is
30% of agency revenues.
Yes, I am not making money. What I'm doing is I'm making money off of contingency bonuses because we are growing, and I'm investing in the growth of this. Because if I spend $1 and I get 50 cents, and I know I sell 3 policies and that's 5 years, how much money did I really make? Substantial. I am in growth mode. I've been in growth mode. So
you sound like Jeff Bezos in the early days of Amazon, right?
I'm a risky guy.
It's all about scale, right? We're not going to focus on profit. We're going to focus on growth.
Yeah. It's not right for everybody, Aubie. I'm not going to sit here. I hope people don't take, I'm jamming it down there for, no, it's not right for everybody. Not everybody can go home and go to sleep without, I'm fortunate. I have other income to support me if I don't make any money and I get no bonuses but I'm okay with that. I am in growth mode because there is nothing more important than residual income. And it's just nothing better. We're building our own pension.
Well, you know what? It's super interesting that you phrase it like that to me because in my view, most agencies don't spend nearly enough on marketing, and I'm talking like 5% of revenues, right?
Yeah,
but
that's still better than none. I'm not going to tell you. But yeah, where do you start with 5%, Aubie? That's the problem. Can you start? Obviously, if you're a larger agency, you can. But if you're $100,000 or $200,000 revenue and you start with 5% and you add business cards in your marketing budget and you add
it's spent.
But it is spent. You're laughing, but it's true. It's funny because a lot of people tell me, Chris, I don't have a marketing budget. Aubie, you do have a marketing budget. No, I don't. Did you buy business cards this year? Do you have a website? You have a marketing budget. You just haven't identified.
Local little league team. Do you have an ad in the high school yearbook?
Absolutely. That's all marketing. Yeah. So right. I think the starting point, though, and not to get away from it, I know I probably just threw a left curveball when I said, hey, I'm between 30 and 34%. Start with 10%. And if you tell me you can't do 10%, give up the fancy car, give up the second home, give up something in order so that you have a larger home. Instead of being on a lake, you'll be on an ocean, right? You just, you don't have to spend money on a $150,000 car.
Right. Well, you made mention of, in some days you're okay spending $1 to make 50 cents, because you can look at that 50 cent repeats itself over and over again, and it drives contingency, and it adds to the premium volume of your agency, which adds to the value of this huge asset. I think that's such a forward way of thinking of that. And
well, thank you. I never thought of it that way.
Well, a lot of people.
Well, people usually say to me, "Damn, you are risky."
Often thought that. With a lot of agencies, even to get them to spend 50 cents to make $1, see that they're not bought into that.
Yeah.
And really, but see, you're spending 50 cents once, and you're making that $1 over and over again, and then also that $1 goes. You're putting $3 into the value of your agency. So, it's coming
back tenfold. And if you're focused on life insurance with the property and casualty, I can go as low as 25 cents, spend $1 and get 25 cents. And I made more than spending $1 and getting 50 cents with just P&C, because once I add life insurance to Aubie and his wife have home, auto, and umbrella with me. And then I add life insurance. It's a 10-year lifespan for personal lines that it's a lifespan thing. So 10 years, you're guaranteed to spend dollars with me.
What percentage of your personal lines book do you have a life insurance policy with? I'm guessing
not nearly enough.
Right off. What?
1%. We're focused on life all the time. I unfortunately have not hired. The people that are here were property and casualty people who went trained. If you want to do this successfully, and I can tell you a lot of things I've done wrong, and I've done this wrong, and I've tried 3 times, I failed all 3 times. You got to go to the life insurance companies, and you have to find a truly trained life insurance person and put them in your office and feed them leads. And you will never fully succeed bringing a P&C to turn to life. It's just a different mindset, and the sale is much, much, much harder.
Okay. Another question that's come in, Chris, from the audience. How do you go about allocating between what they're referring to here as traditional marketing versus digital marketing? What's your budget allocation look like, and what are some of your bigger spends, I guess, in each of those areas?
So that's a great question, and it's going to change. It's going to change based on the size of your book of business, and then based on, you know, what you truly. One thing we have no control over is mail costs. Mail continues to go up. 55 cents for every piece of mail. Just to understand, we handwrite all 7,000 Thanksgiving cards. That's not cheap. It's not cheap to handwrite all 7,000. It's even more expensive to put a stamp on there, because we believe in putting a real stamp on all of them, which I could get cheaper if I did meter mail. But so
I'm guessing it's a flag stamp too.
It is a flag stamp. It has to be. I got Rocket Referrals, who I absolutely love their product. They only use flag stamps now on all the stuff and they said, you really got me thinking. I said, good. Only buy those flag stamps, please.
Nice.
So yes, it is. So to answer the question is, I was about 93% digital, social, which is spending money online and things of that sort. This year, we're going to be about 18% traditional, because we are doing, we're doing 15,000 pieces more of mail just in between April and May. So we know for a fact that our budget just went up substantially. We're reshifting some dollars, and I am adding money because I have to. I believe now is the time to spend money. It's, you know, when people may be questioning me, do you buy GE at $6 or do you buy it when it was 35? Well, if I knew it was going to come down to 6, I'm going to buy it at 6. We don't know where the bottom is, but it's still better than buying it at 35. So things are on sale, and I think people are home. People are going to their mailboxes, and it's a great time to communicate with them. So our marketing budget has increased tremendously on print.
It may be the only time they're leaving the house for the day, right? Is to walk out and check the mail.
My dad, who's 85, that's basically, he walks up, he gets he has a long driveway, live out in the woods, and he loves to walk up there and get a little exercise, get some fresh air in this beautiful weather. He walks up to the mailbox.
Chris, how are you mentioned Rocket Referrals. How are you doing your marketing in your SEO? Is that something, are you outsourcing that? Do you have a dedicated marketing person that manages your social and that manages your marketing internally, or are you using vendors and outsourcing that, or some combination?
We use both. So we have three, and once I answer this, please, I want to answer the other question that I didn't answer your first question, which was about what tools. You had asked, well, what tools are you using for during this time, which I could give you a couple tools. But so, and really what we're trying to do with our marketing is really spend the money and the time utilizing and funneling to people a message that's clear in connectability, right? That's the first thing. What was the question again? I'm sorry.
So partly what tools are you using, and then also what combination of like insourcing, like do you have dedicated marketing?
SEO. So we have 3 full-time people that are marketing, and we have, we do outsource our SEO, search engine optimization, for those that don't know, which is basically helping us be found in search. But our marketing team works hand in hand with them. So yes, they are doing the work, but they're only doing 20% of our SEO. They're educating our team. Really, at the end of the day, the education's coming from the SEO company. And yes, they are doing the things that we can't do, such as programming and things like that, coding if come be. But at the end of the day, our marketing people are executing, which are here in the office. Obviously not in the office during these times. They're at home. We have a Zoom meeting. We're staying on point and hyper-focused. So a combination between both. I don't think insurance agents know enough about SEO, so we have to go get expert advice. It's just my personal opinion. And a really cool 2 free tools. Please, if you want education and you want to learn about SEO, and SEO in the simplest terms, in layman's terms, go to blueprint.com, which is Facebook's educational tool, which is free. And it's really purpose, Facebook put it out, is to help educate you, to make you as educated as possible so that you do make money with Facebook. And yes, there is Instagram, because for those that don't know, Instagram is owned by Facebook. And then the other tool would be HubSpot. They have a tremendous amount of education that's free. That 4-letter F word I absolutely love is free. And Blueprint and HubSpot, the educational tool. 2 free tools, free, that you must, if you have a marketing person, you need to make sure they're being educated on a weekly basis.
Awesome. Chris, one more question. How do you go about measuring your ROI for marketing, and how do you measure success? What does successful marketing look like to you? Do you measure it in terms of the number of visitors to your website, number of quote forms that are filled out, number of new business sales? What are some of the ways in which you're measuring the ROI? Because I guess one of the criticisms that some agencies have about spending a lot of money with marketing is that perhaps it feels a little spongy or a little soft, that they don't really know how to measure it well and don't know what they're getting back for their money.
Can I be northern for a second?
Aggressive and northern?
Ask that same agent, give me the ROI of the yellow pages that you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and I'll answer that for you.
Right.
I'm not trying to be a prick. I'm really not. My point being is you spend tons of money believing in yellow pages, but nobody had facts. Nobody had, and I'm not saying it didn't work. I've never advertised in yellow pages. I can't disprove whether it worked or didn't work. I can't do that.
Well, the yellow pages were dead by 2006 when you started your own agency, right? I mean, it was on its way out.
But Progressive and other companies were saying, hey, I'll market and pay a marketing budget. We'll pay half. They were doing yellow page campaigns all the way to 2011, I believe. And, my rep kept saying, I can't believe you love marketing. I don't love marketing there.
Yeah.
It's just not. So when we get back to, tracking, I think you got to be careful. First of all, there's no such thing as tracking a brand. There's no ROI. You can't track to say Apple is the #1 brand in the world. I don't know if you know that. It's the wealthiest brand, and the only thing as wealthy as its brand is the Vatican. Ridiculously wealthy, right? But we can't measure what that is, but the world knows it's the #1 brand and the wealthiest brand. And I just remember as a kid in like 95 when I played college basketball, Nike, they were talking about Nike's brand, $600, $800 million. And it was like one of the top brands, the swoosh. Everybody knew it. You can't measure the ROI of your brand. So when we go with our messaging, can we measure every aspect of our messaging? Because our messaging has a lot of brand in it. You are not going to get a truthful number that I spent $1, I got 50 cents back. But I think what you have to do is you have to understand how much your brand and what is the value of your culture in your agency. Your culture is worth money. And when you invest in your brand, when we have Flag Day and our office is buzzing and our team is flying high, because we just had 800 to 900 people in this tiny little town. That's 1/10 of what our whole town even is. Okay, show up, drink some beer, everything's on me. It's not about that. It's about celebrating the flag. It's about selling their independent agents. Because remember, independent agents are what? We're all about freedom of choice, freedom of options. If you think about it, Flag Day, June 14th, and independent agents stand for the same thing.
That ought to be Independent Agent
I believe
Day
it.
as well, right?
Say that again?
That ought to be National Independent Agent Day as well.
There should be. Why? Because we give you choice and options. When another agent from State Farm, and I'm not criticizing State Farm at all. There are a lot of good agents who do a lot for community, but we're going to give you options. What are you going to give an option? State Farm, State Farm, or State Farm? Okay, deductible 1, deductible 2, deductible 3. But what if I could give you Hanover, Travelers, Hartford, Kemper, Unitron, State Auto? Those are real options, because Hanover's policy isn't the same as State Auto's. State Auto's isn't the same as Travelers. These are real options. I'm giving you real choices. And that's why I do think in tracking and measuring, your brand plays an enormous role in building culture. I can't give you, if you want to talk pay per click, that's easy. I spend 10,000, I write $100,000 worth of business. The business stays on for 4 years. I'm profitable.
Right.
Okay. So Facebook, remember one thing with social media, Facebook, Instagram, all these, they're all measurable.
Right. Oh yeah.
They're all measurable. You spend $1, they'll show you. For $1, I can get how many ads that place in front of you. Now with their email, if they call in and you get their email, you're going to be able to point. Here's point A to point B. That brought in this business. So I think the key thing, ROI can only be measured if agencies are tracking. And the only way you track is on every new business call, you need to ask, how did you find me? And if you tell me Google, what is the keywords? You can ask all my staff here. I preach it. I want to know the keywords, because one of the most important things today that I said 10 years ago, some people could argue and disagree with me, is still blogging. And the best bloggers in the world understand their keywords. And the keywords are what words are being used to find your agency, or what do you want to be found for. And that is, I could go on for hours on tracking, because I'm a freak about this. If I showed you all my graphs, which are on my computer, but I have graphs upon graphs upon graphs of all of our tracking methods of every month. And I would bore you with just tons and tons. But when it comes to tracking, and if anybody wants to email me, I will send you what we track on our marketing. I'll quickly go through it because we do track per month how many visitors come to our website. But the key factor on that is not if it goes up or goes down, what's the quality of them? So if they went to our website and they bounced off, why did they bounce off? And that's why we use Hotjar. So did they bounce off because they clicked and they realized from a mobile, they clicked on our phone number and they just called us? Well, that's a great bounce rate.
Right.
But did they click on a keyword that they searched that was wrong? They were looking for something other than what I was offering. So a lot of people could end up, if I get 1,000, I get over 1,800 to 2,800 people. Decembers are always our low months. Now is always our big months. I believe it was 2,800 last month. But the key factor is, what is the quality of the person going to our agency website? That's the key. Unique visitors. Unique visitors are visitors who are unique in the sense that they've never been to the website. Now that can be tricked, because if you went on from your home and then you went on from a hotspot in the airport or something, you could trick that. But in most cases, it's pretty good. Bounce rate. The top 5 sources of how people land on our agency website. If you want to know where you get all this is at Google Analytics. It's free. It's another free tool that everybody should be using. And we want to know, do you realize Pinterest is one of our top 2 sources that drives people from Pinterest to our agency website? Who would ever think Pinterest? 80 plus people, 80% of the people are women, and 80% of those people are decision makers, because women are decision makers in home and auto insurance. So why are we so focused there? Because if we want to sell more home and auto, we know we need to be in the world of Pinterest. So it goes on to the percentages of desktop versus mobile, what states we write in 39 states. So states matter. If people are finding us in Hawaii, there's a real problem. I don't write in Hawaii. I don't write in Alaska. We don't want to end up on search, because it's not going to do us any good. And then we want to know male visitors versus female visitors. We have something really cool on our website called the Response IQ button. And that's a quick button that if you type in your number, within 27 seconds, that number calls our office, which then in return, we answer, and you plop on the phone. So within 27 seconds, you talk to us. And people say, I'm not sure our people would use that. I'll tell you why they use it. They don't. If your agency uses a call center, or a center where a machine answers or press 1 or press 2 or press 3, people are annoyed with that. People don't like that. People will use that response because they know the person's on the other line. We ask every person that calls that, we just know that there's going to be a live person instantly. So people want instant gratification. How many pieces of business did we close from our agency website, and how much premium? Chatbot visitors. We don't presently have a chatbot, but we will be going back to a service chatbot that we're working on. Can't wait to fill you guys in. Thank you referral cards. How many referrals came in off of those? So we would sell a piece of business and then we get a referral, because that's a part of the ROI of the $10 that I might have spent to advertise in front of you And it goes on and on and on with keywords. And I'm happy to share all this with everybody, Bobby. I just think it's absolutely critical to the tracking. There's some other cool tools I hope people are looking at, and I don't know how many of your members or people watching are more commercial or personal lines, but here at our agency, we started using Tarmica about months ago. Great tool. It is a small commercial rating system. We write a lot of small commercial, and I was very fortunate to meet Ragoff, the owner, and when he came out to visit with me, he spent about 3 hours, and he says, it doesn't sound like your future is focused on small commercial. I said, if your product isn't as good as what you say it is, I have abandoned in the senses of spending dollars to write $1,000, $2,000 or $3,000 policy. There's no money in it because we then touch it and we have to quote it 3 or 4 times. The rating system has changed my mind, and being able to rate 4 or 5 carriers on a $15,000 or $2,000 policy within 2 or 3 minutes now turns it into a profit center, which before it wasn't. I love Rocket Referrals. I think everybody should use Rocket Referrals. I wish I owned them. Something so simple. They come out with some great new tools with texting. It's it's vitally important for us to understand what our clients are thinking and how happy they are. Like I said, we can't be self-proclaimed awesome service people, because if we were, we wouldn't lose any business, and we all lose business.
Right.
So those are a couple tools I really like. I love the Go Insurance Agent app. I've had it for 8 years. They're based in North Carolina. They're in your backyard.
Matt and
I love the new layout that came out a month ago. I love the new service that's played in the app. I don't know if you've seen it. I give them kudos. I wish it didn't take 8 years, but I got to tell you, they got it right. The product is better than ever before. So I'm super happy. We love that. HubSpot, we love HubSpot. Survey Monkey is another kind of cool tool if you're not using Rocket Referrals, you know. So there's a lot of really good tools out there. It's the matter of really what are you looking to do and what are you going to accomplish. And hopefully sometime you'll invite me back and I'll spend an hour sharing with you the data that we're doing, and what we're doing with data will be mind-boggling when I can show Aubie Knight before, as you're calling in and we're typing in the information to do a quote. Within 5 minutes, we will get a score, a risk level score, to tell me how risky Aubie is, and is Aubie a good risk?
Right.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, that's going to be fantastic. You know, and it's funny, Chris, you mentioned being back with us. I didn't realize until earlier this week, well, maybe yesterday, that you were supposed to be with us this week at Insure Expo. That was going to be late this week.
Yeah.
You're one of our key presenters. So this is not the substitute that we wish we had, but it's what we got, and I am so I'm so appreciative of you being with us. And I actually 2 more questions can't come in.
Sure.
They're both the same question. So, I'm capable of answering. So the name of the commercial rating system, it's Tarmica, Tarmika. IINC, as a matter of fact, I emailed off a letter of understanding to Raghav earlier today. So we're going to have a really great deal for our members with these guys coming out. We'll announce that very soon. So
that's why I'm super appreciative of you, Aubie. Not to sit here and toot your horn so that your head floats like a balloon, but man, we need more Aubie Knights.
Well, you're kind, sir.
The agents need, if I could send one message, we need to stick together. Pick up the phone and call another agent. Find out what we're doing. Find out what's failing. The funny thing is, people always want to call me and ask me what we're doing great at, but ask me what I'm failing at. There's way more to learn from that.
Yeah, that's true.
And, it's just, we need to support each other. It's funny, I think we've gotten stronger and better over the last 10 years, but now more than ever, let's support each other. We're not competing against each other, and we need to stop thinking that foolishness, because Geico is kicking our ass. If you want to talk about a competitor, fight against the $2 billion gorilla who has $2 billion to advertise. You and I and all these other agents on this, we don't have the $2 billion. Combined, we don't have the $2 billion. So we need to stick together. We need to open our doors to each other, open our phones to each other, open our emails to each other, and really come together and support each other, period.
Great. Chris, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
For those that are still with us, next Tuesday, we will have Commissioner Causey on and Chief Deputy Commissioner Michelle Osborne. They will be on to talk about the North Carolina Departments of Insurance's response to the COVID-19 crisis and what they're doing in terms of easing some regulations to help agents out, and also how they're handling all these company requests for refunds and rebates. So you'll be interested to hear all of that. So next Tuesday, 1 o'clock, Commissioner Causey and Dr. Michelle Osborne. Chris, man, I hope to see you soon. I cannot wait for all this craziness to end. And not long after it's over, I'm going to be on a plane to Boston and pay you and Raghav a visit and maybe tour a brewery or two. How about?
Oh, we have one in Boston and we got one in Connecticut for you, kid. Beers are on me. Trust me.